Let's kick this video off with a friendly-sounding stretch of road, the Highway of Tears in British Columbia, Canada. Sounds inviting, right? Well, if you're planning a road trip, I wouldn't recommend it. And that's not because there are any sharp turns or great heights to fall from. The number of slayings that have occurred there, not to mention all of the disappearances. The exact number of people whose lives have been ended along the highway isn't known. Experts believe that most of the cases are isolated. So, what makes this particular highway such a playground for depravity? If you were to, say, pick up a hitchhiker there, it's unlikely there'd be any witnesses to see you give them a ride. If they need to travel to see family and go to school or get medical treatment, then catching a ride with a stranger is sometimes their only option. If the guy who decides to stop and give you a lift has something more sinister in mind for you, then there's probably not going to be anyone around to hear your screams nor anywhere for you to run. If you were to dump a lifeless human carcass on the side of the road, they'd quickly be disposed of by the local creatures. There's nobody else around. As such, some people who might seem normal in real life, but harbor a secret darkness in their heart, might take the opportunity to indulge in that darkness. This next entry makes the list for one very simple reason. Every year, an average of 300 people lose their lives while passing along this narrow 3-meter-wide mountain track. With a peak height of more than 15,000 feet, many parts of the road are above cloud level, so saying that there are sometimes visibility issues is a bit of an understatement. Unfortunately, it's not uncommon to see either the vehicle in front of you or behind you go plunging over the side of the mountain, reminding you just how much is at risk while you make your way along the thin, muddy gravel trail. This usually happens while they attempt a risky overtaking maneuver. There have even been reports of vehicles ramming into other cars on the road, forcing them over the edge. In an instant, 100 people lost their lives. If this trail happens to be on your road trip bucket list, then I highly recommend leaving it until last, as there's a good chance it'll be the last journey you ever embark on. If you're from the Philippines, then you're probably already familiar with this one. Forgive my pronunciation, sir. Balete Drive is a real place in Quezon City, infamous for one of its more spectral residents, the White Lady. If you pass along the road during daylight hours, you're unlikely to become acquainted with her. Pass through during the midnight hours, though, and that all changes. According to an urban legend that dates back to the 1950s, a young woman in a white dress hailed a taxi one night all by herself and asked the driver to take her home. The driver agreed, but apparently had other plans in mind. He took her as far as Balete Drive, where he then stopped the vehicle and forced himself upon the woman in the back of the cab. She fought back and was battered by the driver. After he'd had his way with her, he dumped her under one of the Balete trees along the drive and then sped off into the night. Sadly, he had injured her too severely. Alone, afraid, and in agony, she passed away beneath the tree. In the Philippines, the Balete tree is believed to have magical properties. Many believe that because her life ended beneath one of the Baletes, the woman was able to return to this mortal coil, bitter and seeking revenge. Nowadays, if you pass through Balete Drive between midnight and 3 a.m., you just might spot a woman standing by the edge of the road looking for a ride. There have been hundreds of alleged sightings, many from taxi drivers but also from other motorists who describe the woman as a hitchhiker. Either way, all of the sightings have a few things in common. The woman is always dressed in white. When picked up, she'll enter the back of the vehicle and sit quietly. When the driver looks in their rear-view mirror, they'll see that the woman's face is bruised and contorted, no longer recognizably human. She'll then blink out of existence. Other people have reported not seeing the woman at the side of the road at all, but even so, when they checked their rear-view mirror, her twisted face was there staring back at them. When they checked their back seats, there was no trace of her at all. Many drivers have crashed due to the shock of seeing the White Lady. Other drivers say their crashes were unexplainable, that they didn't see the woman at all, and that they suddenly just lost control of their vehicle on Balete Drive, as if someone else suddenly turned the wheel and hit the accelerator. Now every motorist in the area knows not to look in their rear-view mirror, or pick up any women dressed in white, while passing down Balete Drive. The lady in white became a very popular bit of folklore in the country, and thrill-seekers and ghost hunters alike flocked to Balete Drive to look for her. The road itself is now heavily patrolled at night, since the locals were constantly being woken up by the screams of people who spotted her. Well, allegedly spotted her, that is. This legend is probably just a cautionary tale after all, one about the dangers of picking up hitchhikers, or if looked at another way, the risk you assume when getting into an unlicensed cab at night. But there are so many accounts from otherwise grounded, skeptical people that it does make you wonder. So, what do you think? Could there be any truth to this urban legend? I guess the only way to know for sure is to drive down Balete Drive yourself and see if you make a new friend dressed in white. Not one specific road for this entry, but an entire road network. There's a whole host of poorly maintained, slippery, and dangerous roads that run along the slopes of the Himalayan mountain range. I wouldn't recommend traveling across these routes if you suffer from vertigo, dislike sharp turns and thin roads, or just have a vague sense of self-preservation or desire to continue living. Naturally, being up in the mountains, the weather on some of these passes can get quite intense, to say the least. Take, for example, the Zojila Pass in India. Located 3,500 meters up in the Himalayas, the area suffers from sudden extreme snowfall, which can leave the road covered in snow 24 meters deep. More than likely, though, you'll just get caught in the heavy rainfall as you navigate your way along the winding track ahead of you. Every year, people get stranded up in those mountain roads due to unexpected weather problems and need to be rescued. Those are, of course, the lucky ones. Since there are hardly any barriers on these routes, many others have gone hurtling over the edges. This was the case in 2012 when a bus full of tourists skidded off the side of Zojila Pass and into a deep gorge. Sadly, that was just one case. The Himalayan road network has claimed many lives over the decades. If you find yourself up in those mountains at some point, all I can say is drive safely. You'll need to. Just east of the Nevada border, running through the desert northwest from Wickenburg to Kingman, you'll find Highway 93, known to many as Blood Alley, a title the road has done everything in its power to earn. So what makes this particular route so creepy, you might be asking yourself? Well, like many others, it's an exceptionally risky route. That's in part because of the road itself, how it winds through the hills and has a plethora of blind curves and essentially no shoulder room. But it's also because of its location. This highway runs through the hills, meaning there's an abundance of sections where cell phones can't get a signal, and radios produce nothing but static. It's not only the landscape surrounding you that's barren, usually the road itself is deserted too. It's not unusual to travel the full length of the road without seeing another car on your journey. If you happen to break down or crash somewhere in the middle of the highway, there's a good chance you'll be stuck there for a while. Pair with that the extreme temperatures of the desert, a limited supply of water, and no cell signal, and you have yourself a serious dilemma. You don't have to worry about forgetting how unsafe this road is. There are constant reminders along the way. The entire length of the highway is dotted with small white crosses, marking where past travelers met their untimely end. Sometimes you'll see a cluster of several crosses. Those mark the spots where entire vehicles of people perished. There's one particular spot that's home to 6 of these crosses, a family of 6. With so many terrible accidents occurring on the highway over the years, it's no wonder many locals say the road's haunted. A whole host of sightings have been reported by travelers, but one infamous resident ghost is known as the Highwayman. If you find yourself traveling Highway 93 late at night, you might catch sight of a lantern glowing on the side of the road. As you get closer, you'll see who's holding it. A shadowy figure standing around 6 feet tall, wearing a black duster, jeans, spurred boots, and a black cowboy hat that hides his face. He's usually seen alongside his old model, Harley, presumably that he met his end on while traveling the road. Many people have claimed to see him. According to them, as you come to pass him, he'll take a step back and fade into the shadows. The light from his lantern will vanish with him. Depending on how you look at it, the highwayman either acts as a distraction while traveling the road, or a grim reminder of just how treacherous the route really is. Anyone who speaks Portuguese knows what this road's name means. BR 116, or Rodovia de Mote as it's called by the locals, is the second longest highway in Brazil. It runs from Fortaleza all the way to Jaguaro. Every year, millions of people travel along this highway, and every year, thousands of them lose their lives. So, what makes this road so dangerous? Well, like other entries on this list, There are sections of the road that wind along cliff edges. The worst section for this comes as you approach Sao Paulo, where you have to drive exceptionally close to sheer drops, while on unlucky days, being simultaneously bombarded by strong winds and rain. A recipe for disaster, if ever there was one. In fact, accidents along this part of the road are so distressingly common that the locals aren't even surprised by them anymore, and they've literally become a daily occurrence. Just as dangerous as the slopes, however, are the humans waiting for passing drivers. Police patrols along the road are very few and far between, and the pass is often littered with bandits, especially at nighttime. These guys don't have so much a live and let live mentality as a live now give me a car now die mentality. So yeah, if you find yourself in Brazil, a road trip from Rio to Sao Paulo might not be such a great idea. I've covered this road on the channel in the past, but I feel it warrants another quick mention in this video given the subject matter. Zombie Road. Officially known as Alfasta Trail, it's easily the shortest road on this list, coming in at only 2 miles. What it lacks in length, however, it more than makes up for in infamy. Zombie Road is considered one of Missouri's most haunted places, and is arguably one of the most haunted roads in the world. The surrounding woodland is home to one of the country's largest Native American burial grounds, which pretty much goes hand in hand with paranormal happenings. It's a strange place for sure, but what's interesting about the road is that you're not actually allowed to go there after sundown. It's guarded and heavily patrolled by the police. If you get caught trespassing, you'll receive a hefty $1,000 fine. Still, that doesn't stop some people from sneaking onto the road and exploring it for themselves. Thing is, they have to do so on foot. The road's pretty much impassable by car nowadays, having fallen into disrepair. Those who have gone exploring the trail have reported seeing some exceptionally eerie things, and their accounts are all strikingly similar. They're consumed by an overwhelming sensation of dread and feel like they're being followed while walking the trail. Those brave enough not to turn back have reported hearing footsteps following them, and strange figures standing at the edge of the woodland, watching them as they pass through. Many believe these to be the spirits of former railway workers who perished while working on the tracks that run through the woods. Some believe that those workers rise from their graves at night, hence the name of the road. The nearby river has also claimed many lives in its time, even in recent years. It's not uncommon for human remains to wash up on its banks. The woods are also filled with abandoned, dilapidated shacks. One in particular at the end of the trail is said to be the home of the Screaming Woman, the ghost of an elderly lady who screams at those who pass by. Multiple hikers have reported seeing her, standing in the doorway of the shack crying out to them. Having lived in Taiwan for a while, I already knew I wanted to include this entry before I even started researching this video. Located in what's colloquially known as the Taiwanese Grand Canyon, Taroko Gorge is one of Taiwan's 9 beautiful national parks. Taroko itself translates into magnificent or splendid, certainly not words I'd use to describe the road that runs through it. Taroko Gorge Road is made up of a series of tunnels carved into the mountain. That's all well and good, but when earthquakes and typhoons are a common occurrence, it's not unusual for things like this to happen. To put it mildly, if you have the mettle to get behind the wheel on this road, falling boulders and debris pose a significant risk to your health. On top of that, the road itself is pretty unpredictable, full of steep climbs, blind turns, and sharp curves. Lots of sections don't even have barriers, and on more than one occasion vehicles have gone careening over the side of the steep Taroko Mountains. In 2012, 14 people were lucky to escape with their lives when a bus failed to climb an incline in the road. The bus hit one of the barriers of the road on the way down, but went sliding down the slopes of the mountain regardless, injuring everyone on board. Taiwan's a beautiful place for sure. Just maybe catch a train if you want to visit Taroko Gorge. Morrow Road is perhaps one of the most chilling routes you can drive in all of North America. Near Detroit, just across Lake Sinclair, you'll find Clay Township, a small rural community. Running through it is Morrow Road, a 2-lane strip of paved road lined on both sides by thick woodland. On the surface, it's pretty unassuming, just another dusty trail in the good old US of A. But appearances can be deceiving. It's actually home to a rather chilling urban legend. As the story goes, in 1893, A woman went out in the middle of the night during a snowstorm. Her reason? She was frantically looking for her young son who had gotten out of the house somehow. The storm was severe that night, and while searching for her child, the woman sadly froze. Neither her nor her son were ever found. Rumor has it that the woman still hangs around Morrow Road, though, only in a much more ethereal sense. If you live near the area, here's something you can try for yourself. Legend says that if you drive out to Morrow Road at midnight and park on the old bridge, you can perform a very simple ritual to summon the frozen lady. Simply honk your horn 3 times. Many people say that if you do, the woman will appear to see if you have her son. According to people who claim to have seen her, she'll be wearing a white gown stained red with claret. Her face will be distorted, and her eyes will be missing. If you try to flee, either on foot or in your vehicle, she'll chase after you. If she catches you, it's game over. In the words of one local resident, I was skeptical of this whole legend, so I got together with some friends and we drove out there one night in 1992. We shut off the car and sat there for a minute. My friend honked the horn a few times and right away we heard a baby crying. It was coming from underneath the bridge. We got out of the car and I leaned over the guardrail. I could hear it crying, but I couldn't see anything. Somewhere, out of the darkness, we heard a woman shout, "Where's my baby?" Hey guys, Lazy here and thank you very much for listening. Well, I certainly wouldn't recommend any road trips down these roads, that's for sure. Before this video ends, I'd just like to say a huge thank you to all of my supporters on Patreon. Especially my biggest supporters: Joey Hatfield, Mystic the Manakete, Infamous Simpapi, Joshua Lindsay, Zeke Keller, Martin Vatland, Gamma A, Kelly Rocco, Connor Lothan, Kelly Rocco again, Danny Elk, Darius Sapai, Nadine, Sloan Crawford, Sarah Ramirez, Victor Javier Fonseca Ruiz, Anna Mae Wim, Crazy Mask Parade, James Labor, Pro Cupadine Natter, Gina Valera, Philip Westra, Alex Greensall, Monica Mendoza, Crawford K. McDonald, Marley Wright, and Ray Price Burton. Thank you guys so much. Your support really helps the channel out. Be sure to smash that like button or I'll smash you and I'll be back again very, very soon. Until then, guys, you all stay spooky. And remember, the best things happen in the dark.